Welcome to the show, The Migraine Whisperer. My name is Dr. Craig Hindson. I am the host of The Migraine Whisperer, and today I'm excited to bring you the show Men and Migraines, because I've done 8 shows so far and we didn't really talk about men because, as you may or may not know, 3 times more women on average get migraines than men. Now, why is that? We're going to talk about that on another show, and a great show that will be, because I've got some great ideas to share with you, some great hypotheses, and we'll share what's going on then. Right, okay, but today, welcome to Men and Migraines. Come on in, take a seat. If you just arrived, it's the replay, or if it's live here, throw a comment in the chat. It is good to see you all. So throw a chat and throw a comment in the chat, and any questions, fire them my way as we get going. Okay. Now, men and migraines, welcome, as I said. Now, if you're new to chiropractic, it's no problem. We're going to be talking mostly about migraines, and I'll give you a little bit of chiropractic at the end. And the first thing we want to kick out with is, what are we covering today? So first of all, do men get migraines? Okay, now obviously I wouldn't be talking about this if they didn't, but you don't hear that much information. There's not actually been that many studies done about men and migraines, more so about women, as I said earlier, because of the frequency of it. Do they get it? As I said in the title, hell yeah, men get migraines. But the more important thing is, why is that happening? What can you do about it to try and reduce it? And we're going to have a couple of examples here today. All right. And symptoms typical for men, we'll cover that. I've got a fabulous chap that I had in the studio a little earlier. We did a little interview, and he is going to give you his perspective. That is Luke. I'm just going to tweak this a little bit. There we go. Now, the image behind me is my office, but I'm not in my office, so I'm keeping it a little bit fresh today. I'm actually upstairs in my sunroom, and it's a beautiful, beautiful day, and I prefer to do it here today. So, but I've just got a little taste of the office behind me there. And then, what to do about migraines? This is the most important thing. Stay with me to the end. I'm going to give you 3 different areas to look at, so that you can start to recover your health and recover your well-being. Okay, and more importantly, start dealing and getting back to doing what you love for longer with you and your family. All right. Okay. Now, quick one, disclaimer. Now, you've seen my disclaimer. Well, for those of you that's the first time, there's a quick disclaimer here. This is the testimony disclaimer. So Luke will be on a little bit later. Now, as I've got to state the obvious, everyone is different. So Luke's results might not necessarily be your results. But I'm going to summarize, as always, in 10 seconds, what both these disclaimers are about. Okay, so this show today is about edutainment. It's education and edutainment and entertainment, okay? It is not health advice, because obviously I don't know what your conditions are, how long they've been. We don't have a doctor-patient relationship in this context, okay? But I do intend to give you as much value as I possibly can, so let's dive on in. Okay, now, obviously, I said, do men get migraines? Hell yeah, but here we have the actual black and white. This is, okay. Right. So this is from Stats Canada. I've got a paper called The Prevalence of Migraine in the Canadian Household Population. There it is. Okay. I've gone through that in some detail. And the prevalence of migraine, this was done by Stats Canada. Okay. So a really valid source. And it says that the population of the Canadian population percentage is 8.3% of Canadians, around about 2.7 million people. Are reported with migraines. Now, that is an estimate, because in the world studies, the prevalence estimates vary from 2.4% of migraines to 27.5%. Okay, so obviously there's a big sliding scale. This was done on a group in Canada. I think it was about 8,000 people. But the reason that they talk about there being such a variance is because not everyone reports a migraine, is one thing. And then some people have migraines for a short period of time and then it disappears and they don't consider they've had a migraine. So when they do these studies, the trouble is the studies vary because they have different criteria. Could be you have to have a migraine that lasts, more than an hour, and some people only have it for 30 minutes, but they have it very, very frequently. They have it every day. So it just depends on the criteria of the particular study, which changes those figures. But anyway, we're going to stick with Stats Canada's 8.3, 2.7 million Canadians. Okay, and how that breaks down is, that breaks down to with females, 11.8% of females in Canada have migraines. Okay, so that is, if we divide 2.7 into 2, it's giving you 1.35, and then 10% of that is around 135,000. Around 135,000 women. How do we work this figure out? 2.7 million. It's basically 1 to 3 around about. So you've got 800,000 men and 1.9 million women with migraines in Canada reported. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, there is a variance in that. So just under 1 million men with migraines. So obviously that is significant. And as I say, they don't always get the press they deserve. And I've noticed in the practice, that's probably pretty accurate. I've got 4 or 5 guys that have migraines to about 20 women. Now, I'm going to put together the data for that, and I'd like to be able to share that with you guys so that we can get some sort of ongoing run-in study. You get a feel for what's actually happening on the ground, as it were. Okay, symptoms typical for men. Now, the symptoms are pretty similar to women. The causes are slightly different. So things like throbbing head, specifically one side, nausea and vomiting, sensitivity to light, dizziness, visual problems, fatigue. The thing with men that the condition that actually causes a lot of men to have issues is things like stress, physical activity in particular sets migraines off in men. And we're going to hear a story just very shortly, which I'm going to share with you in just a momentito. Right, lack of sleep, that's the other one. That's the other big cause in men. Other spin-off is something that I have just noticed with my practice members. Now, this is the spine. This is the back of the head. Oh, we're going to lose it again, I expect. And this is the neck and the lower back. Okay. Now, a lot of guys come in with lower back issues. But if they have an imbalance also in the upper neck, because most men, both men and women, are obviously physically active, but they don't just affect one part of the spine. When they have some excessive stresses, they affect all of it. So if they're in a situation where the head is going forward and therefore the head is tilting back, this area here, the top of the spine, that's the area that I'm an expert at adjusting, making sure it's in balance. This called C1, C2, the occiput. If this is jammed back, then that can put pressure on the nerves. And also there's some theories that it can restrict CSF flow. Okay. Now, this curve is influenced by this curve, which is also influenced by the lower curve. So whereas guys seem to have a lot of compression at L5, S1, like there's heavy lifting that's been going on, this starts to change the bottom curve, which changes to the neck curve, which in turn can put pressure around the CSF area and the nerve system area there. And there's actually a communication with the brain stem as well at the upper part of the cervical spine and the nerve system. Okay, so the point I was going to make is men with migraines as well, typically are going to have lower back pain, not always, but often. And lower back, the nerves from there go into the organ system. So theoretically could be affecting the libido as well as causing pain. Possibly, down in that area there, you've got the digestive system. A little below down, you've got a colon. The nerves from that area go there as well. Okay, so these could be typically other symptoms. So you're seeing more lower back symptoms, but that can be linked with migraine. And you'll see when in Luke's story how he talks about one area of his body completely sets off another area. It's Dr. Craig here, and I'm super excited to have Luke, who is one of my practice members here, to talk about. Put a note in the comments if that now sound is not good enough. Super respect. He works incredibly hard. Like me, he's an entrepreneur. He's got various businesses. Put a C if it's good. If the visuals and the sound are good, just put a C, guys. Grandparents, you wouldn't think so because he's so boyish looking, and he's obviously got children as well. So he's a family man as well. So, but he's been suffering with migraines. In fact, I'll let him tell his story. What, like the migraines, when did they start?
Yeah, so the migraines started about 2 years ago. Right. They started periodically, and it started getting more often. Yeah. You know, at the beginning, it was a little bit in the morning, a couple of Advils, and it kind of felt like it was a headache. But as it progressed over, you know, the first 6 months, I mean, there's a shift. There's a shift in my business career. You know, a couple of years ago, the stress, I think, you know, added physical stress, emotional stress. I went from the restaurant industry to the construction industry. Right. Still working physically, but very differently. Yeah. And I think it started catching up to my age. Right. Well, you know my opinion on age, because that's the interesting thing. A lot of people say it's because of my age. Now, when you first came in, because it wasn't just the migraines, you had a few other things going on. Tell us a little bit about that. I wasn't very gentle to my body when I was younger. Martial arts, a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. All right. You know, jump off of it out of anything. You know, so been suffering from, like, you know, chronic back pain, hip pains. Mostly related to, you know, sports and martial arts. And I was always too busy to actually get it looked after. And then until I met you. As I said earlier, you're around about my age, but how much older did you feel when you first came in? Oh, I used to tell everybody I'm 40 going on 70. Yeah. So then after being under care for a little while, how are you doing now? Oh, great. It used to take me like maybe 10 minutes to walk up, you know, straight in the morning. Right. Waking up, I get out of bed, my feet hurt, my ankle hurt, my back, to walk, I hunched over a little bit for the first 10 minutes, moved around, and then I realized I was actually standing upright. I don't have that anymore. Right. I wake up in the morning and I stand up and I walk. But yeah, definitely the range of movements on my neck. My migraines used to also be a little connected with between my shoulder blades. There was a side on the right. Right. And that's the more stress I had, the more my shoulders would tense up. You know, creating some, you know, probably muscle and nerve and everything tension. But ever since you've been adjusting me, I don't get that. Right. I don't get home all like this from a stressful day. So for you felt that when you were super stressed, you feel something on your shoulder, and then the migraine would start. And how would it happen? Would it like wrap over the back of your head? I could actually, sometimes the migraine would start, and then that would be there, and there'd be no connection. Right. And then as the day went, there would be like a connection. Like I could feel pain for shoulder going to the migraine, all the way the back, like up the spine, the back, like literally, you know, and it would join itself. And then sometimes I'd wake up and it was already connected, right? Yeah. But since you've been adjusting me, you know, do I sometimes get a little tender in the shoulder, like around the shoulder blade area because of stress? Yes, but it's like business. You work in construction. That's right. Yeah. So you carry stuff. Yeah, so I carry a lot of stuff. Yeah. So that. So let me ask you. I never actually asked you this question. Now, what you said there was really interesting about that connection, because we never talked about that before. But what about? Did you ever get auras, or did you ever have like a heat? You could kind of almost see heat waves, or like did you have any like weird optical phenomena? Not. Besides getting hit in the head in martial arts? Besides that. You know, there's times where it was, my eyes were getting watery, and the vision was like very temporarily getting blurry a little bit, like for fractions of seconds. You know? Yeah. Between a couple of blinks, Be a little, and then I had to stop and I kind of close my eyes and then open them again slowly.
Right.
But that was like at the peak of the migraine.
Okay, so a lot of people when they come here, especially like guys, myself included, because I was a military guy, when I first heard about chiropractic, I was like, oh, bad necks, bad backs, waste of time. And my girlfriend, who was a chiropractor at the time, said, you've got to go to this workshop. She's now my wife. So the workshop worked. But what about yourself? Were you very skeptical when you first thought about coming in?
I mean, I've been having problems with my whole body since I was my 20s.
Yeah.
And I was 49 before I walked into any chiropractor's office. So yes, skeptical, there's a part where I was like, it's just a money grab. They crack you the wrong way just so they can crack you back the right way and get more money out of you. That's honestly, for the longest time, that's how I felt about chiropractor. And then physio, I was like, well, whatever you're gonna do, I can do it in the gym myself. That was the mentality I had, right? My body hurts, it is what it is, and I just carry on until I met you. And I met you at the EY Center when we were both exhibitors at a show.
Oh, boots were next
boots were across from each other. So after staring at you all weekend,
it's okay. I have that flexibility.
we chatted back and forth, and then Sunday you kind of hooked me in a little bit, and I was like, oh, it's a nice guy. I've been chatting with him all weekend. The least I can do is show up at his office for his little bullshit session, and then. And then I'll feel better with myself and then move on. That was 8 months ago. Here I am, and I'm a strong believer in your practice and your methods. You're a great guy. I have a lot of respect for you too. You did wonders for my body and my quality of life so far, and I'm looking forward to
beautiful.
Everything
so
else.
How much younger is your spine than you think?
48. 48, we're getting close.
How many years younger than when you first came in?
Oh, 20 years.
20 years younger.
Yeah,
cool.
For sure.
Right, man, let's get you addressed. Thank you for that.
So now what to do about migraines? First of all is reduce the stressors that we talked about, reduce what people call the triggers. You'll find that a lot of people call them triggers. So we're going to reduce the stressors. Now, some of those we can do, and some we have no control on at all. So, for example, you can't put yourself in a rocket and blast yourself into space every time a storm is coming because the barometric pressure is changing. Okay. And the other thing that we can look to do is reduce internal imbalance. And you'll see in the diagrams in the previous shows I've done, the stresses lead to interference in the nerve system. Interference in the nerve system leads to problems with the muscles, leading problems to the structure, leading problems to the nerve system, and it becomes a continuous loop. What we can do is reduce the stresses. Okay, so try and reduce stress at work. You can't always change those conditions at work. Some cases you can, but you can change how you respond to it. Okay, because there was always going to be stress in life, and changing how we respond to it can be different. So that could be things like meditation, prayer, reflection, journaling, all sorts of things that you can look at like that to reduce the emotional stress. Physical stress means being kinder to your body. Like myself, I've given up rugby, unfortunately, which I loved, but it was trash in my body. But now I play touch rugby, much kinder to my body, and I can do what I love for longer by doing that. So that's just sort of things that you can do just to modify what you're doing to reduce the stresses. Obviously, as a chiropractor, I recommend getting the interferences in your body removed, especially the top of the spine, which is why I've started doing this show, because I've realized that I have one of my superpowers is making sure that the upper spine, the C1, C2, and occiput are nicely in balance, and that in turn helps people in general. And just as a reminder for those of you that aren't aware, this is the area that I particularly focus on. I adjust the whole spine, but this red highlighted area here, this is Atlas. Atlas spins around. You can just see, I don't know if you can see my pointer, probably not, but it just spins around on the process there that is called the DENS process. Okay, so that's the things that we can do about migraines. Now let's see how Luke gets on with his how he got on with chiropractic care, but I want to show you the hands-on aspects of it. Okay, because this show, the Migraine Whisperer, is about providing you with hands-on solutions to debilitating health problems. Okay, so let's see.
Okay, so we're going to just do a standard adjustment with Luke. Okay, so I'm just checking Luke's leg length. The reason I check the leg length is not because one is physically longer than the other. In this case, his left leg is short. It just indicates whether the pelvis is twisted and to what degree and to what side. So if you squeeze your knees into my fist and then relax. Now this tells me if there's a pubic issue with the pelvis. And come again, squeeze your knees into my fist and then relax. Now look, this doesn't usually show up on you, but I'm getting you've got a pubic issue. It's kind of almost like you're riding a bike and you fall onto the crossbar.
Okay.
So you bang your pelvis like that, but you haven't had anything like that. Have you, like recently over the last couple of years?
No.
Yeah, still shy. Squeeze, squeeze. And relax. Okay, yeah, that was advanced now. I've never had that with you.
No.
But often chiropractic care is like peeling back the layers of an onion, you know, you sort out the major things and then the smaller things come up to the surface. You never had an injury like that back as a kid then?
No, not that I know.
Big breath in. Okay, big breath in. So this is me working on Luke's mid-back area. The thoracic area goes from there to there. The lumbar area is here. Tailbone's here. And obviously cervical spine or neck is at the top. So once I clear the spine, I go back to the bottom of the legs. And the rest you're changing the leg length. I'm testing the tailbone because I like to adjust the tailbone because often they're torqued or twisted. In Luke's case, it's torqued clockwise, so I adjust counterclockwise, and I find that levels the legs out nicely, and then I want to test again to make sure that it's going to hold. Yeah. So strangely for this one, I find that it usually takes about 6 adjustments to hold, or 6 thrusts to make the adjustment. That's it, now it's holding. With other areas it's just 3. The tailbone seems to take about 6. Turn onto your back. Now because Luke is so muscly around his shoulders and stuff, I find that to adjust the thoracics, this is actually a much better way because I can use his body weight. I know he's only small, but
Lots of weight.
So I just put a little thrust in and using his weight we get good changes because the vertebrae are only small. The vertebrae are only small, the joints that we're moving, putting a force into. And then here's the beautiful thing, I put the force in, the body, its innate intelligence takes that force and actually makes the adjustment. So the truth is I'm not even making an adjustment. So the important thing is I check before and I check after. So this muscle on the right is nice and soft on the right shoulder, but on the left still hard, still tight. So by changing the muscles, we affect the structure. And by changing the structure, we actually change the nerve system. So the signals going to the brain change as I make my adjustments. So everything is involved. It's not just I'm moving a muscle or I'm moving a bone. soft there, a little bit tight there. You feel that? Soft there, tight on the right. So the left's nice and soft, the right's tight. So I'm going to have you sit up and face the fireplace. This is not a great stand. It's just... Oh. Right, okay. I was going to do it behind you, but you're too big for me. I've got my little step here. So I'm just feeling here, soft, 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 there, a little tight there. So we'll just take it. And again, the important thing is to check before and check after. I mean, this kind of move's pretty dramatic, but the important thing is we get the correction. Again, that C2 is just to the right slightly. There we go, that was it. Okay. Thank you very much, Luke.
Perfect. Thanks.
There we go. I'm back on the stage again. I trust you enjoyed that. Hang with me just for a second. I've got another gift for you. We are about to wind up. So I did everything that I promised. Let's just double check what to do about migraines. We talked about Luke and the symptoms typical for men. We did that. And just as a gift that I want to share with you here is if you didn't get what you needed out of today's video, I have literally hundreds of videos on my YouTube channel. Okay, so what I want to do is just share that with you, and here it is here. So it's Dr. Craig Hindson, okay, at Dr. Craig Hindson. Now what I've got, I don't know if you know YouTube. If you don't, go to the playlists, and then if you click on the playlists, it is going to give you all the playlists I've got there, and the Migraine Whisperer show is here. And there is going to be there's going to be 10 or 14, 15 videos. There's lots of practical tips in there, okay? So you can see, you can actually get hands-on stuff. But as well as that, we got like frequently asked questions, what to wear to the chiropractor, stomach pain, back pain link explained. So this is causes of back pain, what you can do about it. There's a couple of private ones there that you're not actually going to see, but how to relieve neck pain, migraines and headaches, all that sort of stuff. And we've got some loving food recipes and ideas. Okay, so go there. There's tons of value there. Subscribe. All right, real simple to do. Ding the bell to all, and then what that means is if I've got a live coming up, or if I've got a new video I've dropped, you'll be the first to see it. Okay, and share this. This is the most important thing. Share this information with your friends and family, because I know there are loads of people suffering silently with migraines. They're popping Advil and they're popping painkillers like they're going out of fashion, and it doesn't have to be that way. And more importantly, they're not living as full a life as they can. Okay, guys, my name is Dr. Craig. I am a Migraine Whisperer. I hope that's been of value to you. I hope you enjoyed it. Do come back next week at 5 o'clock. Next week, we're talking about vestibular migraines. Now, this is an unusual one. This is where you don't necessarily get any headaches, but you get dizziness. Okay, so if you've got friends and family members that have been suffering with dizziness and perhaps migraines thrown in, headaches thrown in, this could well be an eye-opening show for them. In fact, I expect it to be an eye-opening show for them. Okay, guys, have a great evening, have a great morning, have a great afternoon. Dr. Craig, over.